I, 32 female, was engaged to marry Travis, 33 male, but a couple of weeks before the wedding was supposed to take place, he said that he didn't want to get married. I asked him if he was cheating and he said no. He told me that most of his friends were already marrying or starting families, so he thought it was time to settle down, but he just realised he didn't want to do it. The wedding was cancelled and that was the end of our relationship. It's been about a year since that happened. Things haven't been exactly great, but I've managed. Well, some days ago I received an invitation to the wedding of my cousin, Taylor, 26 female. Imagine my surprise when I read it and saw that my ex-fiancé was the groom. I'd only seen them barely interact during family meetings. I hadn't noticed any clue pointing to anything happening between them all this time. Here's some info about my cousin. She's what some people would call a free spirit. She doesn't have a conventional job, she works as an artist. She dyes her hair in unusual colours, sometimes blue, sometimes green for example, and dresses extravagantly. Once she wore a white robe, another time she wore a black leather jacket and spiked boots. She says that she doesn't like following society's rules and that she only follows her own code. Immediately I called my parents. I asked them if they knew anything about Taylor's relationship with Travis. To summarise, yes, they did. They hadn't intended to tell me because they figured out there would be no positive outcome to it, but they also made it clear that they expected me to come to the wedding anyway to show support to my family. At this point, I lost it and shouted that they were delusional if they believed that I would go to the wedding of my cheating, liar ex and his manic pixie dream girl. They said that I couldn't keep holding on to my hatred and resentment forever and that I needed to let go, but I hung up. Since then, my extended family has been blowing up my phone saying that I'm a bad person if I don't attend. Right now, I feel confused, betrayed and disappointed. I'm no longer sure if I'm being irrational, so I think it might be best to ask for an outside point of view. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, your family is whack. Sending you an invite is a slap in the face. They should have told you that your ex-fiancé was involved with your cousin, especially when they got engaged, and they're out of line expecting you to show up and smile because of family. Family goes both ways. Your family too, and they should have told you what was happening. I'd make it clear that you are not holding on to anger and resentment. You've moved on and wouldn't have wanted to be married to a guy who would do that anyway. You won't be attending the wedding, and it's inappropriate for anyone to ask you to do so. I'm curious about the family's desired endgame in not telling the OP about this relationship. Surely she would have found out somehow. Was their plan for her to eventually show up to Thanksgiving dinner and see her ex there with her cousin? Maybe the family was hoping the ex and the cousin broke up before the OP ever found out they were involved. It's weird all around. There was never going to be a good endgame. Odds are good they intended to bulldoze OP into letting bygones be bygones because she is the more reasonable one. Yeah, that sure worked out well. I'm giving a pass on how OP talked about cousin because OP basically got napalmed and carpet bombed by this announcement. I suspect most anyone would have choice words in such a situation, so in my honest opinion, they get the trash talk pass due to the situation. The parents see their child as a loser and are kissing up to the golden child of another family and her family. These are awful parents. They shouldn't be going to this wedding either. This is the man who dumped their daughter just before their wedding because he was screwing her cousin, and family thought it was okay to hook up with their daughter's fiancé. Why are the parents supporting it? I'm fascinated they want her to come to the wedding. I'm picturing her there and someone asks how she knows the couple. I was the groom's fiancé that he cheated on with the bride. Hi, nice to meet you. OP, go no contact on the whole crap show. I'm in my 50s and sick of getting technology for gifts. My kids are all into tech, they always buy the newest stuff, and I've been trying to get it through their heads for years. I don't want it. I will upgrade when needed, but I'm sick of relearning technology. I work 8 hours a day on the computer, and when I get home I don't want to mess around with tech to make it work. Sometimes I also want to avoid staring at a screen during my downtime. My biggest pet peeve about this was them getting me something and then getting annoyed if I asked for help setting stuff up. I used to have a Bunny TV, and I don't use cable or streaming platforms. The TV worked fine, and I was thinking of getting a Roku. They knew I wanted a Roku. They got me the world's most frustrating smart TV. Half the time it won't connect to the free TV networks. I hate that TV, and it's in my basement. It's a Samsung Smart TV. I've made it clear I don't want tech. For Christmas, they got me new Bluetooth headphones. I couldn't get them to pair. It took my daughter-in-law an hour to make it work. The whole time everyone was angry, so I asked for help. So I really dislike getting tech. I asked for my birthday if they wanted to get me something. They got me a book off a list or a gift card. I got a tablet and they told me I could download a book. I don't want to read books on a damn screen. This was my breaking point. I gave it back and told them I didn't want it. This started an argument with them. By the end, I asked why they couldn't listen to me and I was done with this. My son called me an idiot for being ungrateful. Not the idiot. I get that tech can be awesome, but you have repeatedly asked not to receive these types of gifts. The whole point of a gift is to give that person something they want or need. They have deliberately ignored these requests and then get angry with you when you ask for help using these gifts. Your kids are being selfish and rude by continuing to buy things you don't want or want to help you with. This isn't specific to techie gifts. You're expressing a preference. If you'd rather have no gift than a techie gift, then it's easy to honor that request. And nothing is easier than getting a gift card. It's easy to pay attention when people tell you exactly what you do and do not want for a gift. No one would think you're ungrateful if you didn't want skydiving lessons or French perfume. They are clearly in the wrong. Everyone's the idiot here. I understand the frustration of getting the exact opposite of what you're asking for, then the added annoyance of not getting help setting the stuff up. However, as an adult child, I can almost guarantee there have been situations where you called these exact same people unappreciative or ungrateful for this exact behavior you're displaying right here. Just because you're their dad doesn't give you a right to be disrespectful and demanding. They aren't obligated to get you anything. My 59 female son, 23, has a baby with his ex-girlfriend. The child is a toddler. Essentially, she baby-trapped him and it was a very toxic relationship. There was a massive issue with the paternity of my grandson. Still, I'm very proud of how he dealt with the situation. He never stopped loving and caring for the child, usually on his own, even when he wasn't sure if the baby was his. Now my son is dating a much nicer girl, Grace, 19. She's the best friend of my youngest son, 20. Grace loves children. She adores my grandson and often calls him her baby. My grandson likes her too and she is adorable. I've known Grace for a long time and I think she's perfect. The issue is that my son has started giving her many childcare responsibilities. My grandson's biological mother is hardly involved, and my son is usually co-parenting with her parents instead of her, so we have our grandson most of the time. Once, Grace spent the night in the hospital with my grandson while my son was studying for an exam. Her life slowly started to revolve around my grandson and his naps, his feeding schedule, etc. Every free moment she has from college and work is spent with my grandson. I don't want to interfere, but I'm going to be realistic. They've only been together for a year, and what if they don't work out? Then my grandson will be attached to someone he won't see anymore. Additionally, she is very young and needs to live her life instead of being a mom so young. Last week, my grandson was sick and my son returned from work to check on him. Grace was cuddling him at this point as she'd been with him all day. My son tried to take him, but he wanted to stay with Grace, so she said she would stay up with him and call out of work the next day. This is also not the first time she's missed work or school to care for my grandson. Grace took him upstairs and my husband commented that my son didn't need to try so hard with his ex anymore to get her to parent when Grace was right there being his mother. My son then said Grace was a godsend because without her he'd get no sleep. I took him aside and told him I thought he was taking advantage of her and her time. He asked me what I meant and I told him that at 19 he was partying and having a blast every weekend, but Grace was busy caring for a sick child who wasn't even hers. I pointed out that she was missing out on work and school for him, and my son got angry and accused me of calling him abusive. He also said that it was good she wasn't partying because it wasn't good or safe anyway. He then took Grace and his son back to his place and hasn't let me see my grandson since. My husband thinks I was out of line because Grace is helping our son through something difficult, and I'm starting to feel bad. My son wants an apology and wants me to promise not to bring this up to Grace and give her any ideas. Edit, they've been together for just under a year now. Not the idiot. The sentence that seals the deal is that he doesn't want you to give Grace any ideas. In other words, he knows 100% that he's taking advantage and grossly doesn't want to rebalance. He will make Grace a terrible long-term partner. How long have they been dating? Just under a year. And this has moved very quickly. She's taken on the full mother role. He's asking a lot of her, and while it's her choice if that's what she wants, it's good someone is making sure the arrangement is fair. Because honestly, if she's missing out on work and school, it's not 100% balanced, as your son's life is taking priority in the relationship, and that's something she may regret later. Please talk directly to Grace. Her boyfriend isn't listening to her. Show her that you are. She will feel great comfort if she realizes that her boyfriend's mother sees the BS he's pulling. She might even do something about it. 19 is a bit young to be dating a 23-year-old man with a kid, and you're right to be concerned. My son and my wife have been butting heads recently. I don't think she needs the burden. The situation: my son is 19 and a freshman in college. We told him to apply to colleges where he could get merit scholarships. We don't make enough to pay $80,000 a year for college, and we make too much money for financial aid at most colleges. He decided to attend an expensive private college to study art history, which upset my wife and me. He took an intro to psychology course and thinks he knows everything now. He's home for break and he's been snapping at his mom too much. He came to me later and said that I need a divorce. Boomers like me are miserable because they refuse to divorce when they're unhappy. I'm not even 40. I don't know how he connected my anger at him with my dissatisfaction with my marriage. He said that both my wife and I were miserable in our marriage and we'd be better off apart. I told my son that I'd love a divorce if it meant I was taking my wife with me. I cut ties with everyone else. I didn't tell my son this, but she was the only one keeping me together. My wife wasn't making my life miserable, everything else was. My son was upset. He said he was only trying to help me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your son might mean well, but he's crossing some major boundaries here. Going off about your marriage when he barely understands the complexities? Not cool. And wanting to study art history is his choice, but snapping at his mom? Not cool either. You're trying to keep it together, and your wife sounds like she's your rock. It's tough when your kid doesn't get that. Maybe sit him down and explain things calmly. Hopefully, he'll come around. Keep your chin up, man. You got this. Maybe sit him down and explain things calmly. Put him in his place. Say, look, my marriage to your mother is no concern of yours. As a matter of fact, you're causing us both so much stress. How about manning up and doing adult life without our assistance since we need a divorce and we're miserable? I don't know why kids put their noses in their grown parents' business. Ha ha ha, I love that he called you a boomer when you're actually a millennial. I would tell him he should drop psychology because he's terrible at it. I highly doubt his professor even said anything remotely like this. I took 2 psych courses in college. It probably came off of TikTok. I'm sorry, your son sounds insufferable. I, female 23, really like clothes and shoes. I own a lot more of these items than one probably should. I married my husband, 30, about a year ago, and I moved all my stuff into a walk-in closet when we moved in together. It's all been fine for a year. However, on Friday, my husband got home from work and immediately became angry with me. I don't know what I did, but I asked what was wrong. He started to scorn me about my clothes and shoes in the closet. He told me I had too many and we needed to go through it and donate some. I told him I didn't want to get rid of my stuff. He told me I had no choice because the closet was full. We argued about it for about 15 minutes before he grabbed my elbow and pulled me into the closet. He told me he would sit there and make me get rid of 100 clothes or shoes. I probably have well over 500, so that honestly wasn't that much, but I didn't want to, especially at that moment. I don't even know why he was so adamant. He's never had a problem with my things before. It didn't matter that I didn't want to, though. He started to pull my stuff out. I snatched them back and we started going through them. My husband sat there and made fun of my clothes as I debated donating them and remembering how much I loved them and what I'd worn them to. He made fun of my college formal dresses and my old bridesmaids' dresses and stuff that I genuinely loved. When we got to my old clothes, he told me to get rid of them because they probably didn't fit anymore. I told him I didn't even care if they didn't fit. I wanted them for sentimental reasons. That's when my husband demanded that I try on these clothes that I wanted to keep to make sure they still fit. Again, I didn't have a choice. Eventually, after the 4th or 5th piece of clothing, putting my pajamas back on and off, my husband snatched them from me and told me I was taking too long. He literally made me stand there in my bra and underwear while he belittled my clothes. I ended up getting rid of a lot of stuff I would have kept if I'd had a choice, just so I could be over with it. I cried when we went to bed that night. And I know that's dramatic, but I genuinely do care about my clothes, and I felt so horrible. The next morning my husband apologised so much, bought me flowers and breakfast, took me out to dinner, and even bought me more dresses afterward. It made me feel a little better, but not really. I can tell my husband is annoyed that this didn't make me feel better. Am I the idiot for not feeling better or feeling bad about it in the first place? I feel so stupid, but not like the idiot. Not the idiot. Your husband was abusive. To come home out of nowhere angry at you, physically pull you into the closet, criticize you, make fun of you while forcing you to stand there in your underwear, and then force you to give away belongings that mean a lot to you is abuse. There is no way this is the only controlling behavior he's exhibited. The over-the-top niceness the next day and trying to buy your compliance is classic, and it was clearly never about the clothes. He bought you more clothes the next day. You both need therapy, together and separately. Consider having an exit plan, including emergency funds. Don't let him gaslight you. I'd be shocked if he didn't escalate at some point. Therapy with an abusive partner is not recommended. It tends to just give them ammo. The mask is slipping now that they're married. So many red flags from his behavior. If in fact you had too many clothes, it's something to talk about. Not force your wife to strip and then belittle her. Time to get rid of husband things. Donation really works. Oops, you said we had too much stuff and needed to make room. I did my part and wanted to help you do your part. Now we have more of that space you were talking about. First, make sure you can go somewhere safe. Then run. I'm sorry, this is not a marriage you can save.